Now this evening we have a very special guest that's going to offer his insight into leadership. Mr. Mark Farias is the fire chief for Vandenberg Air Force Base, California, where he has been the fire chief since 2001. He leads an organization of 120 firefighters and support specialists who provide engineering, education, and emergency response services for land, sea, air, and space-related incidents. Chief Farias holds a master's degree in organizational leadership and has led his agency in becoming the first internationally accredited fire department in the Department of Defense. That's amazing. The Vandenberg Fire Department is also one of the most innovative and award-winning fire agencies in the nation. It's my honor to introduce Mr. Mark Farias.
An introduction like that makes a guy feel kind of special. Whose glasses are these?
You can use them.
Okay. Well, after hearing that, let me tell you guys the rest of the story. Okay? He failed in every conceivable manner along the way, getting fired from a half a dozen jobs. He was a terrible fire truck driver, an average firefighter, and a slow learner. In fact, it took him 12 long years of night school to finally graduate. And I say that because every success story has a lot of failure attached to it. And in my case, it took about 30 years to reach overnight success. So the question always comes up is, how bad do you really want it? Now the graduates here tonight, you guys wanted to be better than you were. But you didn't just want it, you wanted it bad enough to actually do something about it, so you spent 9-10 months in this program. That's a long time. And that's a pretty sound commitment. Now before I go on, I want to thank Roger for asking me to come up here and share some thoughts and words with you guys. Thank you, sir. Are there any veterans in the house? Any vets? Thank you guys for your service. Now the term leader gets thrown around an awful lot these days. In a way, we pretty much call anyone doing anything a leader, but that's not true. We know a real leader when we see one. They walk the talk, they practice what they preach, and they put their money where their mouth is. And as much as we've studied leadership and written about it over the years, it still seems as elusive as ever. Yet if there was ever a single point of failure in any organization or on any team or in any industry, it's leadership. Now my friends, there's no secret to great leadership. What it took to be a great leader 2,000 years ago, believe it or not, is the same as it is today. Now the landscape, the context, the environment has changed drastically, fantastically, biblically, but the principles are still the same. And when we talk about leadership, we often use the word passion. If you look that up, it comes from the Latin word for suffering, passio. And there's a lot of truth to that because leadership is a very tough road. It's a tough gig. And it's filled with blood, sweat, and tears, and sacrifice. The early mornings, the late nights, and the long weekends, the lost weekends. It's about having the fortitude to do the right thing when everyone else is doing nothing. To be the one voice when all those around you are silent. Now these are uncertain and defining times we're in. And what our country, what our government, what our communities, our industries, and our families need more than anything else are real leaders. Because in a way we've lost our way. And that's why a program like this is so important. It helps rebuild the bedrock that this great country was built on. Now, every great movement, every great achievement, every revolution in the history of mankind started with one voice, one leader. And when we think about great leaders, we usually think of these larger-than-life people that influenced, shaped, and transformed the face of the world. People like George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Gandhi, Winston Churchill, JFK, Martin Luther King, the Pope, and maybe in your travels it was a boss or a teacher or a coach. But would you ever think of putting your own name on that list? Probably not. Now you may not be leading a nation or an army, but you're probably leading a team, a group, a section, a division, or maybe even a cause. And if you're not, you will be. You see, we got a lot of problems in today's workplace. And one of the biggest problems is that we've become disconnected. Which is ironic, because the thing that's supposed to pull us together is also pushing us apart. Technology. We've got virtual reality confused with reality. And we've got leadership confused with PowerPoints, metrics, meetings, emails, and TPS reports. But the truth is, thanks for catching that, but the truth is, leadership is a people business. It always has been and always will be. It's about getting people inspired and focused. It's about getting them to believe in something, even if they don't believe in themselves. Leadership is earned one person at a time, and it's based on honor, trust, and integrity. And at the heart of it all are relationships. That's the real power of leadership, relationships. Because people follow leaders that they know, leaders that care, leaders that are genuine, leaders that put their people first. And leadership is a combination of this and this right here. You got to have both. And as the great philosopher Morpheus said, all right, stay with me because there's another one. I'm laying these eggs here. As the great philosopher Morpheus said, there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. And that path can be a lonely road, traveled by those that have the courage to make a difference, the courage to take a stand. But courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's that quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I will try again tomorrow. Now, I've been a fire chief for a lot of years, and I've had to lead firefighters through some incredibly difficult situations. And sometimes they were doing everything they can, but it still wasn't good enough. And I think this is where a leader has to show their people that they have more faith in them than they have in themselves. This is where a leader's got to get their team to dig deeper than they've ever dug before. And it's times like this where I would go to each of my firefighters and ask them to give me 1% more. Just 1%. And when you have 100 firefighters giving you 1% each, that's 100%. And you can do a lot of ass kicking, 100%. And I can't tell you how many times that small, fragile 1% was all the difference between tragedy and triumph. When it's all said and done, leadership is measured in moments. Critical moments. Those were some of my moments. And in your entire careers, you're probably only going to have a handful of these opportunities to be a real leader. Because your legacy will be defined by these moments. So you got to be ready for them. You've got to know your job. You don't have to be the best at it or be an expert. Lord knows I wasn't. But you got to have some kind of job credibility. And you got to develop your mind. It makes me think when I was a kid, my mom used to tell me that the greatest poverty isn't a small house, it's a small mind. So keep your mind open to new ideas and new possibilities. Don't become so jaded over the years that your mind rusts and your will fades. Because leadership takes its toll. You've also got to develop your communication skills. Because once you open your mouth, all those around you know who you are. So, tread lightly, speak with purpose. Know when to keep your mouth shut and your ears open. Because you can make a great statement with silence. Well, as we travel on this rocky road called life, leaders also need challenges to grow and learn. We should be grateful for the voices we can't enlist and the forces we can't control. We need cynics and skeptics that present a different point of view. And we need surprises and uncertainty to develop, to challenge, to suffer through. And as weather shapes mountains, adversity and struggle and failure, lots of failure, shape leaders. So what I'm saying, if I'm saying anything at all up here, is that the realm of leadership isn't full of the have and have-nots. It's full of the will and will-nots. Are you willing to do what it takes to be the best you can be? Are you willing to make the tough choices and hard sacrifices to be the best you can be? Well, the fact that you're sitting here tonight is a huge step in the right direction. Now, in the months and years to come, you will lead, you will follow, but most of all, you will serve. So serve with honor, follow with trust, and lead with integrity. And remember that a leader's greatest ally is his or her own example. Okay, so go into this dark night, fight the good fight, and make a difference where it matters most. Thank you for having me, and congratulations to you guys.